Welcome all to our final Cisilion Live for this year. I'm delighted to use this session to cover off WebexOne. As we know, Cisco have been advertising this event for a number of weeks and months, and we've had a lot of information to consume. And the plan today is to kind of break down some of what's been announced and actually what it means for the end user and for organizations out there. Now, I'm also happy to announce that we've got Justin Woolen from Cisco. He's the UK and Ireland collaboration leader, and Abba Abbaszadi, he's the director of IT for Charles Russell Speechlys. Welcome, guys. How are you both doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm brilliant. Good, thank you very much. Very excited and enthusiastic after WebexOne over the last couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been, I must say, a lot more has been announced than I'd anticipated. And I guess if we look back at some of the headline messages that were coming through leading up to this point, it was all about being able to deliver a 10 times better experience than meeting in person. And a lot of the messaging was built around that and this whole concept of the all new WebEx. And I said, for me personally, I was really looking forward to seeing how Cisco plan to quantify these benefits. And I think it has been done in abundance. I think all in all, we've seen about 50 new features that have been announced during this event. And a couple of things that kind of stood out. I think, when you look at the session, the way it began, Jitu talked about providing a clear identity of, who we are and what we stand for. And when we say we mean Cisco. So at the highest level, he said there are 3 billion digital workers in the world, and Cisco wants to make them equal participants in the global economy via WebEx. I mean, that's quite a big thing to say. I mean, it's quite audacious in terms of, what Cisco are looking to achieve here. Now, going into a little bit more detail, I suppose, this whole concept of making remote work 10 times better than the in-person meetings. We've seen that by the way Cisco have talked about delivering a WebEx experience which is inclusive, and they've talked about delivering this in being able to add closed captioning, real-time language translations, and delivering new features to help make meetings a little bit more inclusive by, with the ability to use body language to create digital reactions. There's kind of a wide variety of things there. So just to kind of kick off, Justin, if you don't mind, maybe talking through your top 5 announcements from the event. I know there's a lot to discuss, and it's probably difficult to pick your favorites, but it'll be good to get your view on what you think is your top 5.
Yeah, thank you, Iqbal. It was there was lots, and you're trying to pick the favorite out of all the 50. You mean the one that stick out for me? I really loved the Slido acquisition, and this goes back to a more 10 times better user experience than in real life. And then you're going, how can you do that? And the thing for me, it's the bit of going, right, okay, I live in Wales. I live 157 miles from my head office. I miss seeing people, but I don't miss the travel. So it's that bit of that balancing act. And the things that I loved about it, like the Slido acquisition, is about how can you really tell the pulse, or how engaging are you real time in a meeting? Now, when we do we're doing this now, and we'll see comments pop up and people might be liking us and things like that. That at least gets you a feeling that people are responding to us. But when you're in a meeting, you can't do sort of likes and things like that. But by using the pulse, the quizzes, the polls, surveys, you can get a real feel of how engaging you are. Because in a real meeting, I can be stood there in front of 20 odd people, and I can look around the room, and I can sort of get that, I don't know, Abba's not really buying into this, his facial expressions and things like that. But on video, it's maybe they're sat there going, whatever. But this allows people to really share how they're feeling. And you as a person who's trying to lead that meeting or trying to get participants to join in. You can get a feel of actually, right, okay, I need to sort of change the tone. I need to lean in and talk to certain people a bit more and get their feedback on that. And that was one I really like, that acquisition slide. I think it's an amazing one. And the bit also I love is the immersive sharing. So I can actually, instead of it being I'm sharing a slide deck or sharing some content, and I'm a little video at the top, or if you're another vendor, you're the video at the bottom, and all I'm seeing is that. And it's the bit of being able to go, do you know what? I want the video behind me. I'm going to have my presentation behind me like a weather person. And literally, and I'm thinking about this. This was something, it's been around for years. The weather person has been stood with it behind them. They learn how to go, right, the weather front's coming in from over here. And that just allows people to be more engaged because you're looking at the person presenting instead of it being a little video at the top, but you're seeing them and you're seeing their content and you're going, and you just, you do it. The television industry's been doing it for you. So I really love that one. Able to change your videos around so you can get the look of, who do I really want to look at? I want to see if I want to spend a bit more time looking at Abba or Iqbal, and you can put their videos, but you can change your layout what suits you. But there was another one as well that came out before this, and I think that was the start of the intent of where we're going with WebEx. It's like that noise reduction, and we were preparing for this, and my dog. Funnily enough, a delivery person turned up. My dog went mental, but that's the point of like the noise reduction. So you just don't have to worry about those things. You don't have to worry about your kids running around in your background because we can spot the noise, and that's from our Abba Labs acquisition. But you don't have to worry about that now. You just focus on that because nobody else can hear it automatically without you having to press any buttons or anything like that. But they were the sort of few that that really stuck out for me.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I do agree. The noise suppression for me personally is definitely my favorite. I've got an 18-month-year-old baby and he's crying all day long. So just not having to worry about that has kind of changed the way I work for sure. So that's definitely been big. Just kind of bringing it to Abba. Now, I forgot to mention, Charles Russell Speechlys just won an award as well at WebexOne. They were awarded for the Web Excellent platform, recognized as a customer that has successfully implemented the WebEx platform. And I know we're going to go into that in more detail shortly, but I guess congratulations. But what's your view on the announcements? Do you have any favorites?
To me, picking up on Justin's point there, Slido is a really good one, actually. It was a few months back, I think at the beginning of lockdown, one of our staff members was unfortunately leaving us. He was very popular in the department, and actually we ran a live WebEx event with Slido in the background. So that acquisition is a match made in heaven for us. And I always thought in terms of polling, surveys, that type of thing, to build that into the platform. And what better platform to acquire than Slido? So for me, that's a big announcement. The noise reduction, noise cancellation, that's always been a big one. Obviously, we've been used to changes in the past 8-9 months in terms of lockdown 1, then lockdown 2, then partly returning to work. So, and in between all of that, there's been the various different environments that we've been in, and noise reduction is a really, really big one. So typically you can get lots of headsets that engross you into a meeting, but essentially it's the people on the other side, the participants on the other side, that can hear all the noise around you. And unless you're paying very premium prices for these headsets, to have that feature built into the app itself, and you don't actually need a headset, it's not as important anymore. I think that's a crucial announcement. Other stuff, we've seen on the back of COVID and the shortage of IT equipment across the world, laptops, web cameras, that type of thing. It's good. Another big provider in the industry is now providing webcams, because I know the traditional providers have really struggled with demand. So we're part of the ecosystem. So we're looking at the analytics in terms of the platform itself. Was there image quality issue? Was there a sound issue? That whole WebEx ecosystem will report back on that. So for me, that is also a great announcement. And I think in general, the other announcements and the improvements that they've made is, WebEx have gone a long way in terms of simplifying the look and feel of the app. So the fact that now there's a simple button to say share video, audio. It's very, very simple. So simplifying that has been good. And then finally, for me, I mean, there's lots of announcements, but finally for me is the contact center enhancements that we've heard a lot about this year. So that's an interesting space that we're not in, but very, very interesting to see how that progresses, and we want to find out more about that. So that sounds really exciting.
Brilliant. One of the things that Justin pointed out was around the layouts, and I know, Abba, you and I, we've talked about being able to dynamically change layouts for your meeting rooms and for your users, and that's been quite rigid up until now. So now you've got the flexibility of just completely changing that. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but it's pretty amazing, having that flexibility. So hopefully you guys will see the benefits there. Just kind of switching attention to Justin a little bit around. Up until this point, there's always been this misconception around WebEx being too difficult to use for the end user. We can't deny the fact that likes of Zoom have really attacked this market, this industry, in being able to deliver a great user experience. And I know Cisco have been working really hard to address this same issue. Now, me personally, I've always found WebEx easy to use, but that's probably because I've been using it since the early 2000s, so I'm familiar with the product. But somebody new coming in now with the all new WebEx, what does it mean for the end user, and what do you think Cisco have done to address this?
Yes, thanks for that. It's a real unfair feedback on that, and it is that when you're used to it, you could just make it work. And with G2 coming in, he has put the user at the front of this. So all these features, techies might be going, oh, and Abba, you called out. I feel like I did disservice to WebexOne now, because you called out a bunch of features that I've somewhat forgotten about. But I hope my boss isn't watching. But it's the user right at the front to make it easy just to start the meeting, to schedule the meeting, to be able to share content, to record. And that's the thing of where G2 has come in with the user at the forefront. And this is not an IT tool. It's an everyone tool. And that's the inclusivity that he's come from. That human side of thing is going, like, for example, it could be a lawyer, it could be a solicitor, it could be anybody using it. They don't have to be a tech genius to make it work. And that's where we've come from. And the even when you're moving into now with WebEx Assistant, being able to have a touchless meeting, and we can talk about that from a safe return to work piece. You can walk in, hey WebEx, start my meeting. You walk into a room. It's about, we've had customers feedback that
you got to stop. You're starting my meeting on my WebEx Pro at the moment. So
I'm really sorry. I was because I thought mine would start as well, but it's like capturing your notes. It's giving you the speech capture as well. It feels like I've got subtitles turned on, but things that actually help people in real time, in their real life of what they do, going, oh, right, did anybody take notes for that meeting? Oh, I remember Iqbal promised that he wouldn't ask me any difficult questions. And I can go back and look at the notes. I can then schedule other meetings. I can, so there's a plethora of things in there. And when we get down to these new features as well, which is about fairness. Now, I tell you what, we're all terrible at this, of have an agenda and the guy goes first and they overrun. And then what happens is the poor person at the end of the meeting gets knocked off. But with features about the round table, about, right, okay, you've got 10 minutes, we will only let you talk for 10 minutes. We'll mute you, we'll count you down, and then we'll mute you, and then we'll give it to the next person. Because it is those people at home who go, oh, do I need to, or remotely, sorry, but go, oh, I'm going to get knocked off here. You disengage, but you go, do you know what? I've got my 10 minutes because it's in the schedule. And things like that. And I think that's the bit about, and having meetings that aren't just like half an hour or an hour long. We can have a 5-minute catch up, a 7-minute catch up, and it will tell us, look, you got 7 minutes. And we all do this. I'm sitting there and I've got my little clock next to me and I'm going, I've got 3 minutes before I got to go. And the guy goes, oh, but can I, and you go, I've got 3 minutes, but the meeting will cut then because you've got your time, because you can't, meetings just can't go into the rest of your day. everyone's thinking, oh, it's my meeting, I want to have it. And the next thing you know, you've been on WebExes all day. But it's the bit going, look, I've got, to enforce that I want to have my lunch hour. Anyway, sorry, I know I'm going on a bit, but it's that the person.
No, I think. I think it's a great point there. I think we need to address this whole concept around meeting fatigue. Nobody's really resolved this yet, so I'm really interested to see how things like Roundtable can really have a positive impact. Things like quick sync meetings as well. I think we need to start adopting these new ways of meeting people, because having these hour-long meetings throughout the day. Some days I go having meetings from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. and I feel like I've achieved nothing. And surely that's not good for the business either, because I'm not producing any output. I'm contributing, but I'm not actually producing any output. And I think speaking to lots of people, my other customers, they have similar issues. So I'm really keen to explore how we can start to leverage some of these features to make it so that we can be a lot more productive. And I think that's the whole premise behind that. Just kind of, I guess, moving on, I know Abba's probably going to ask me this straight after the call. It's great that Cisco are talking about these great features, but, how airy-fairy is this stuff? I mean, are we looking at the next, 12 months, 2 years? When can Abba's users start to realize the benefits of what's been announced?
Yeah, and that's thank you. We did say this in the notes with no hard questions, but no, it's a great
question. That's the last one of the day. No,
it's fine. Yeah, we have been developing. I cannot. For those who don't know, I'm new into role. Been in. This is my fifth month in the role, and we are innovating at pace. We joined at 40. I think it was 40.7. It was when I came into role. We're at 40.12. So it is literally, we're innovating every month. So these features are coming and they're going to come fast. We're going to see features coming out this month, and then we're going to see them in January and all that. We're bringing these features out on a rapid pace. So we're really going to work really hard and quickly to get Slido in. For an example, you look at when we announced Babel Labs. Babel Labs was the acquisition. We made that within a month. That was in.
Amazing.
So that's the thing about where customers, and the real challenge for customers as well is the piece about, this is built in the cloud, hosted in the cloud. You want your features, then it's about making sure that if the only thing that stops you getting these new features is if you're locked down onto a certain version. So it's about really, that is one of the real powers of the cloud, that you're always up to date. You're always on the latest platform. You're always on the latest features. So that's the one thing. So I expect to see these features coming out. You're going to start rolling them out this month, and we'll see them into next month. You can see them.
And Charles Russell are on like the early field trials as well, so they get to benefit some of those features before they drop into the general availability, which is great, because all of the key users within IT can get to see those features before they're rolled out to users, and it's certainly kind of the best practice approach that we tend to use with many of our other customers. I guess probably a good time now to maybe talk a bit about Charles Russell's journey up until now. Now, looking back at this time last year, Abba, you and I, as a team, we talked about WebEx and working in a new way entirely to how you were this time last year, where you had lots of disparate technologies and platforms, and you were looking to find a way to join all of these things together. Then COVID came in March, and that's where we had to really fast track that whole strategy. Now, can you talk a bit about where that journey began with WebEx back in March?
It's so fitting, isn't it? Because, as you say, this time last year, we had these conversations, and lots of people within our organization and as well outside the organization, one of the typical questions that I get is, have we reacted to COVID? What did we need to do, in terms of getting our users prepared for the new way of working, essentially? And for me, our strategy hasn't changed. We had these conversations well over 12 months ago now, and it was all about unifying the way we communicate. So there are too many different types of platforms. There's obviously the physical element of meeting each other, speaking to each other, approaching each other. And then there's also, we've got telephones, we've got mobiles, we've got dedicated VC rooms. You know, there are so many, WhatsApp, you know, there are so many forms of communication. And for me and my team, it was all around picking the platform that combines all of that. And one of the key strategic goals from us as a technology department within our business is finding best of breed technologies that are easily digestible. And that's really important, because we don't want to implement stuff that's difficult to digest. And sometimes it is culture change. And sometimes it is just, you know, sometimes it's the software platforms that we use that might be difficult. And we want to get away from that. We want to get away from BAU. We want to make sure that we're adding value to the business as a technology department. So for us, you know, looking at this 12 months ago, we were very fixed in terms of the way that we collaborated between our offices and the outside world. So we didn't really have a method of combining the range of home workers, clients, and internal people within offices. So at the very beginning of the year, and I remember at the time we were looking at the three main competitors in this market: Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Webex. And I remember going to the Cisco conference in Barcelona, where some of the Webex announcements were made. I saw the vision there in terms of that unified messaging, that unified goal. And for me, you know, having a Cisco telephony system, obviously we, you know, lots of phones around the world have Cisco hardware. It's combining all of that, integrating all of that. And I think, you know, for us, it was very, very easy to pick Webex, where some people across the firm might have never heard of Webex. You know, the new generation of staff that are coming in, you know, all they've heard in their lives is Zoom, because that's all that's been available. And really, you know, from a professional standpoint, from a business standpoint, Webex has been around for a long time. But from a consumer standpoint, you know, not many people know what Webex is, and some people don't know what Microsoft Teams is. So Zoom has been the play in this. But for us, there was obviously security concerns with some of the other platforms, data protection concerns. And then when we looked at that Webex journey, how it combines the telephony systems, the VC systems, the desktop, the mobile, for us, it was an absolute no-brainer for our investment in that. And obviously, as Justin alluded to, I've seen so much development in Webex now, and we frequently used, you know, we probably use 5 or 6 different virtual platforms. And I would put my hands up and I would say, you know, I'm an avid Webex fan, because I feel like they've moved on so much in that time. And it's not just about the virtual meetings itself, it's about the meeting rooms, making it simple. You know, for far too long, we invested for many years in static VC rooms. And now we've got, as Justin alluded to again earlier, we've got VC rooms that are, you know, got facial recognition, voice prompts. You know, we can go into me and, hi Webex, please start my meeting. You know, touchless. And what a great feature to have in the society that we're in today with COVID around. You know, having touchless technology like that is amazing. So for us, we're avid fans, and it made logical and business sense for us to invest in that unified experience, if that makes sense.
Brilliant. I think I guess going back to the kind of specific outcomes we talked about there, you know, obviously I've been working with different parts of Charles Russell, my team have as well, and we've seen how it's benefited all sorts of things. You know, having a virtual meeting is one thing, but actually what do you do in that meeting? Is it training? Is it running an event? Is it you know, being able to engage with a wider audience? There's so many different types of meetings. And now I think whilst there's been some gaps in what Webex were able to deliver, I believe that's now been addressed with this new way of working. And, you know, we talked about these other features that are there. So hopefully we can start to now answer some of those questions. The acquisition around Slido will hopefully benefit your users directly. So there's definitely that. So we know that since March, we began with a WebEx trial, and that proved to be a big success. And now we know WebEx has been fully adopted by the business globally. As you get to this point of where users are now adopting WebEx, what does the future hold now next year? What are you looking forward to, particularly with some of what's been announced?
So what we've been, and especially in terms of announcements, the other big announcement that I probably didn't mention was unifying the application. So where there is WebEx, there was formerly WebEx Teams, obviously the WebEx Meetings app, and then you've got the WebEx Rooms. Unifying that app is essential for our next stage of the program that we're running. So as you alluded to, we rolled out late March. I think as soon as we knew the country was going in lockdown, within a week we rolled out this, the virtual meeting app worldwide, and it wasn't without its problems. I mean, minor problems, and that was very much down to the speed of rollout. Since then, we've done nearly we've done enough minutes to cover 2 whole years as a business. We've done well over 1.1 million minutes, I think it is. So we've extensively used the platform. For us, the next stage of the platform, and this is something that I'm very, very excited around. We're actually doing a promo video about, and we're looking to launch in January. We were hoping for the WebexOne event to happen, for the announcement to be made in terms of what is this new app going to be called. And essentially, the next stage of this project is rolling out the comms app. So at the moment, we've got legacy instant messaging with Teams, or let's say the new WebEx app that will replace that, but also integrate with our phone system. So our landlines will follow our users around, which is quite important. And then on top of that is our integrations to our service ITSM tools. We're looking at chatbot technology to build that into the platform as well. So I'm very, very excited. I think the next bit of our collaboration program, which is the Teams element, or the legacy Teams element of the app, I think that is what excites me the most, because once we place that across the firm, then it really does unify everything that we've been talking about. It all makes sense. It all comes together. It's all simple. It's all integrated.
And this whole concept around the hybrid worker that Cisco have been talking about for a long time kind of plays well into that. And thinking about now, as the vaccine's now available, we're hoping to kind of get back to normal next year. What does normal look like for Charles Russell Speechlys? Is it going back to the office, or is it carrying on as we are working from home predominantly? I'm particularly thinking about the lawyers, the partners who work the traditional way. Have they now fully endorsed this new way of working, or do you expect them going back?
Absolutely. We've obviously, we've all communicated very well. We've been keeping up our communication with our clients. Nothing is affected. I mean, if anything, this has just really highlighted how solid our technology structure has been, and we've been all internally and with our clients. It's been business as usual. But for us as a firm, the ethos of the firm is its client relationships. So, and a lot of our clients like that physical face-to-face meeting. So we don't grant ourselves as a virtual firm. We want to sit in meeting rooms with our clients. We want to have face-to-face meetings. It's all about that personal touch. So I don't think that's ever going to go away. I think naturally on the back of this, not just us, but the legal sector will look at this and say, okay, actually, we don't need to be completely fixated to our desks. What do we do around our desk strategy, our agile working strategy over the next 2 to 5 years, I would say. So naturally, on the back of this, not just the legal sector, but especially the legal sector, because they've been quite behind in adapting, we will see different working arrangements. But essentially, us as Charles Russell Speechlys, our ethos is very much focused around the client, making sure that communication, especially on a personal one-to-one level, is always there. So I don't think it will change much. Apart from that, we know we've got the ability to work in any way we want. But as long as we're meeting our client needs, that's the most important thing for us.
Yeah, no, 100%. And just thinking about one particular stat that Cisco pointed out during WebexOne was, they've done a fairly extensive survey, which indicates that every single meeting will have at least one remote participant moving forward, regardless of what happens as we get back to normal. There will always be that one person or more. The question is, how engaged can that person be, or how can we make that one person feel like they are part of that conversation, that meeting? And I think that's where we are now with the technology and where Webex is today. Justin, just to kind of summarize, and Abba, really appreciate the insight. It was really, really useful. What's your view on what the future holds? What can Cisco and partners like us do to help customers realize this vision for next year?
So that's a cracking question, that is, and Iqbal, and Abba, you're doing a better job than I am. I'm really happy to be quiet and let you talk. You've done a cracking job, and it's great to see that Cisilion have done an amazing job in supporting you through this. So, what does the future for me is, and what I would like to see is this safe return to work, this new way of working become a real reality, instead of people just becoming, I'm being hammered by video every day, that people feel that, and your clients are the ones who feel like I'm getting a good as level of service or better level of service from that perspective. The safe return to work piece is hugely important for me, and the ability to, like we said, if people can come in and let the technology enhance that experience of being able to go, I feel safe when I need to go in the office, and when I need to see a client, that I can do it in an environment I feel safe. This is the reality. I'm sat at home every day. My wife works in a school, and she does come home with anxiety, going, I have to sit in this environment where people, I'm at risk, and that's the thing. But people are going to have anxieties. But if the technology can allow people to go into the office, touchless environment, walk into a room, have the technology that I can feel like I can collaborate and feel like I'm meeting with people, even though they're not in the room with me, know and feel safe, and let the technology enhance that. That is something, making that a reality. And that's where working with partners like Cisilion is hugely important, because you are the guys who are going to be able to enable this to happen. And that's why I feel really quite passionate and enthusiastic about, because it's great to have all these features. And I'm sat there watching the questions from Mark and coming in on a regular basis, and I'm sure we'll have to answer them at some stage. But it's the reality is, it's got to feel that it's adding value to our customers and our customers' customers. And like your clients have it. And I think that's the bit for me. We've got to make this a reality. We can't do this without Cisilion. It's been side by side.
Justin, it's highly important to us, strategically. Cisilion, from like Iqbal said 12 months ago, without the partner network that Cisco will have traditionally, we've worked with Cisco for 15, 20 years. I've been involved with Cisco projects for 15 to 20 years. So, and there is a level of integration that some partners are aware of. But Cisco, from a very networky traditional hardware vendor, have moved to the software world, acquired many software platforms, and that makes it even more important for your partners to relay the message that's coming from Cisco directly. We, as the end customer, are never going to have enough time to be able to go to all the conferences, keep up to date with the vendors directly. And it's ever more important that that message comes from our general day-to-day account management, our general liaison with partners like Cisilion. And actually, in a pandemic type of scenario where, the pressure is on and we've got a week to enable the business to be able to remotely communicate with each other and our clients, partners like Cisilion are extremely important in that, and they have been. So, kudos to you guys for helping us in that journey as well.
Really appreciate that feedback, Abba. Really appreciate both of your time. There's been lots of comments, lots of questions. One of the things that we've not had a chance to touch on is probably context into this, simply because there's just so much to discuss, right? But I mean, just in a nutshell, Cisco have now released Webex Contact Center version 2. It's a multi-cloud platform built on microservices. So as a CCAS solution, it's probably one of the most resilient solutions out there compared to some of the competition, and I'm certainly really excited to see where we go with that, particularly around some of the integrations with AI and Google. We'll also be interested to see how it integrates into other platforms like Microsoft as well, and that to me is the next big thing as far as Cisco are concerned. There's been a hell of a lot of investment there. So I'm just going to conclude now. Thank you guys for joining me. Really appreciate the insight, and I look forward to catching up with you soon again. And everybody else who's attended, appreciate your time. I hope you have a really great holiday and a good Christmas, and look forward to another Cisilion Live in 2021. Take care.
Cheers, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.